Diggy diggity bum bum bee, diggy diggity bum bum bee, diggy diggity bum bum bee. We vote in BNB. Hey, hey, hey. Everybody voting, they voting in time. Shelling, yes we shelling. They voting BNB, BNB down the line, BNB down the line. BNB down the line. There was this lady, she don't know what to do. Come and let me show you what to do. I said, come on, baby, vote BNB down the line. Vote BNB down the line. Vote BNB down the line. There was this lady, she don't know what to do. Come on, let me show ya. I said, come on, baby, vote BNB down the line. Vote BNB down the line. Vote BNB down the line. 1, 2, 3, hey. Vote, 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 vote. BNB down the line. 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 We voting, we voting, we vote, we voting BNB. We voting, we voting, we vote, we voting BNB. We voting, we vote. When we go to the polls, we voting BNB. We voting, we voting, we vote, we voting BNB. Everybody voting, they voting in time. Shelling, yes we shelling. Diggy diggity bum bum bee, diggy diggity bum bum bee, diggy diggity bum bum bee. We voting BNB. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody voting, they voting in time. Shelling, yes we shelling. They voting BNB, BNB down the line, BNB down the line. BNB down the line. There was this lady, she don't know what to do. Come and let me show you what to do. I said, come on, baby, vote BNB down the line. Vote BNB down the line. Vote BNB down the line. There was this lady, she don't know what to do. Come on, let me show ya. I said, come on, baby, vote BNB down the line. Vote BNB down the line. Vote BNB down the line. 1, 2, 3, hey. Vote, 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 vote. BNB down the line. 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 We voting, we voting, we vote, we voting BNB. We voting, we voting, we vote, we voting BNB. We voting, we vote. When we go to the polls, we voting BNB. We voting, we voting, we vote, we voting BNB. Everybody voting, they voting in time. Shelling, yes we shelling. Diggy diggity bum bum bee, diggy diggity bum bum bee, diggy diggity bum bum bee. We voting BNB. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody voting, they voting in time. Vote BNB down the line. There was this lady, she don't know what to do. Come on, let me show Diggy diggity bum bum bay, diggy diggity bum bum bay, diggy diggity bum bum bay. We vote in PNP. Hey, hey, hey. Everybody voting, they voting in time. Shelling, yes we shelling. They voting PNP, PNP down the line, PNP down the line. We voting, PNP down the line. We voting, we voting. There was this lady, she don't know what to do. Come and let me show you what to do. I said, come on, baby, vote PNP down the line. Vote PNP down the line. Vote PNP down the line. There was this lady, she don't know what to do. Come on, let me show ya. I said, come on, baby, vote PNP down the line. Vote PNP down the line. Vote PNP down the line. 1, 2, 3, hey. Vote, 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 vote. PNP down the line. 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 We voting, we voting, we vote, we voting PNP. We voting, we voting, we vote, we voting PNP. We voting, we vote. When we go to the polls, we voting PNP. We voting, we voting, we vote, we voting PNP. Everybody voting, they voting in time. Shelling, yes we shelling. Diggy diggity bum bum bay, diggy diggity bum bum bay, diggy diggity bum bum bay. We voting PNP. Hey, hey, hey. Everybody voting, they voting in time. Shelling, yes we shelling. They voting PNP, PNP down the line, PNP down the line. We voting, PNP down the line. We voting, we voting.
Good evening, Turks and Caicos, and welcome to another episode of This Is What's Up 3.0 edition on the road. We're in ED8 tonight. Wait, hold on. We're in ED8 tonight. I got my live audience, and let me say that again. We are in ED8 tonight. There we go. There we go. You know, the audience is a little shy. You know, this is their first time on the show. People are nervous. And, of course, they're a little bit even more nervous because we got a heavyweight tonight. Heavyweight tonight. Honorable E.J. Saunders. Honorable E.J. Saunders, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Ralph. I don't know if you could say 165 pounds is heavyweight, but I'll go with that. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, well, when I was saying heavyweight, we have a special guest in the audience tonight. Your mom is here tonight. Okay. Miss Emily Saunders is here tonight. Can I get a round of applause there? All the way from South Caicos. You know, I did bump into her today at the hospital, and I was very pleased to see her and just asking how things were in South, you know, and she was saying she was here tonight just to make sure, you know, you don't get too nervous, you know. She give you a nice hug and, you know, everything like that.
She wants to give me answers. She wants to be whispering the answers to me.
Yep, definitely. So tonight's going to be a very interactive episode. We have questions that we got from the street, questions that we got online coming in. Of course, there might be some questions from the audience. So I'll get things started and rate heavy and hard. One of the questions I had from one of the constituent members on the street was, Honorable E.J. Saunders, you know, you've been moved to the backbench now, or quote unquote the backbench. What drives you now? What are the things that you are most passionate about? What are you looking forward to running on this next election?
So thank you, first of all. I don't want to get too deep into it, and then all of a sudden I forget I need to do. So there's a little bit of housekeeping. I'd like to first and foremost give my condolences to two families, the Francis family on the passing of, I think, Donovan Francis Jr., and the Basin family from South Caicos on the passing of Sabrina Basin. So I want to give my condolences to both of those families. Both of them I know very well, and I wouldn't be surprised. My mom is in the audience. She could possibly confirm it. But I wouldn't be surprised if both of them are family members.
Yep.
So I want to give my condolences to those two families. Now, getting to your question about what drives me, what motivates me, the most important thing is that it's for the people. I mean, this is the first time, well, this is actually the second time we were allowed to choose songs as our intro songs when we during the rallies, and during the last one we had, or the first one we've had for this election season, you'd see a big part of that was where it says that for the people. So I've always been brought up to love people and to work hard for people. And I'm in a position now that I can deliver for the Turks and Caicos Islands. I've got some ideas that I think would move the Turks and Caicos farther, faster. And I'm excited about being in a position to be able to do that.
Definitely. And you said further, faster. Yeah. I think everybody is very much interested, of course, further. Every government promises further. Faster, I think, is what everybody now is looking forward to. Housing, looking forward to economic freedom. How do you get further, faster? You have just written an article not too long ago about, now don't quote me, I read some of it. I must say that it was a great read, but I kind of read with it. But most of it was on, you know, government productivity in essence. Yeah. So explain, what do you intend to bring as far as recommendations to the next administration as far as getting faster?
Well, a few things. I'll cover just a few areas very quickly. When I was Minister of Finance, the first time when I was delivering the budget, the full budget, it surprised me that the day of the budget, the day before the budget, we had persons who constituency candidates who weren't sure about what was in it for their constituency. So that was one thing that had me thinking.
Yep.
And then I noticed that at the end of the budget, we were always ending the year with substantial surpluses, greater than $50 million in surpluses. And most of that, you're an accountant, was in increased revenue. It wasn't revenue above budget. It was underspent. Mm-hmm. So it was frustrating me. It's frustrating the candidates, particularly those who are not ministers, frustrating the ministers in that why can't we deliver enough during the financial year that meet our ambitions at the beginning of the year. So at the beginning of the year, you hear all of these great speeches of, we're going to achieve this, we're going to achieve that. And at the end of the year, because you don't put as much emphasis at the end of the year about the government performance, you realize that you're not achieving at least $50 million of your objectives. And so having the time on my hands in the backbench, having a lot more time in my hands, I thought about, if I get there again, how can we deliver more? How can we improve? Now, I certainly believe that we're the best government.
Yep.
And we're the best of the two parties. And I think that we will deliver more than the other side. But I don't judge myself by how we do the other side. I judge myself about how efficient we could be as a party. And so I was looking at it and thinking, how can we deliver more?
Yep.
How can we deliver more within a term? Because the
Yep.
last thing you want to go to people and say, we didn't deliver everything we wanted to deliver last term. Well, this current term, give us another term.
Yep.
You want to be able to say we delivered more than we said we were going to deliver. So I thought about that quite a bit and look at the obstacles and look at the things that I think we can do. And I came up with a term called high performance government.
Yep.
But that is the result. I think before high performance government, we need to create a high performance culture within the government and within the government services. And I believe that we have the public service who can deliver that. So first and foremost, we should be instilling, a high performance culture mindset into the public service. And then the end result over time will be a high performance government.
So you say high performance culture. How do you that would imply that there needs to be a cultural change, right? In essence, not a full change, but it just needs to be a shift, sort of a paradigm shift. So how do you go about shifting the culture? What does that look like in sort of getting a high performance culture? How does that look, and how would you go about making that happen?
Well, I think the first thing it needs to be changed is that the sense of urgency is a little bit different if you're looking at something in terms of your contract versus someone who's looking at in terms of their term.
Yep.
So when we get into government, this term we had a 48-month clock.
Yep.
Okay, so as soon as we get in, the clock starts ticking. Next term, it's supposed to be a 60-month clock. But
Yep.
anyway, it's a fixed amount of time. And so the elected government's sense of urgency is a bit different from someone who thinks that, okay, if it didn't get done on Friday, we can do it next Friday.
Yep.
But for an elected person, we can't afford to do that. We need to be able to get things done within a fixed amount of time. So I think what you need to do is get everyone fixated on 365 days of the budget.
Yep.
And said, okay, if you can get the budget delivered in time, where you could start on day one, which is the 1st of April every year, you should be able to work hard to deliver all of the objectives in the budget by the 31st of March the following year. And so I think that's what we need to do. We need to, first and foremost, get those persons who are responsible for delivering the objectives in the budget to start to focus on this time frame of 365 days of the financial year and push very, very hard. That's one. Two, the standards that you set around the high performance culture should be their standards. They should know that they are getting something for it. They shouldn't feel that they are working hard for you, that they're working hard for them. And one of the examples I always use is that let's use the DMV as an example. If you go into the DMV and currently they're producing 20 driver's licenses a day, and you're the person, the staff member who goes in there and look at the processes and change it, and now all of a sudden you're delivering 100 driver's licenses a day, you can put that on your resume, and all of a sudden you're a lot more valuable. And that's your standard. So if you want to go into the private sector now and someone says, what did you do? You could say, I met this at 20 driver's license a day. I now deliver at 100 driver's license a day. That's a skill set that you've developed to be able to manage that. So we need to, as a government, set the high performance culture and show them that it's not for the elected government, but it's for everyone. And it becomes their standard. So when they start to hit those KPIs, they know that they're doing it for them, and then they're going to let themselves down if they don't produce.
Got you. So in essence, maybe even the way that government is compensated would have to change in order to change some of that, because, in the private sector, you do have, in essence, if you meet certain metrics, you get a bonus or something like that. In the public sector, it's just static. So, would you look at changing some of that as well?
Almost certainly. And I've said this before, I think the government has a ratio of 40% that basically, this is in terms of financial good governance and everything, and that you can't spend, or you shouldn't spend more than 40% of your budget on public service, salaries and allowance and everything, so on their costs. So we have this ceiling. that you shouldn't spend that more than that as a percentage. Otherwise, you're too much of your budget is being spent on just that recurring expenditure.
Yep.
And so the goal is to try to minimize that lower than 40%. And that's the standard that the UK set. And I always like to say that once we got into government, the revenues, a little bit because of COVID, was below 300 million.
Yep.
Today we're budgeting almost 500 million.
Yep.
So we're well into over 460 some million dollars in recurring revenue. And we gave a substantial raise.
Yep.
We gave an average raise of 20-something% outside of the statutory bodies. I'm not sure exactly what the percentage is with the statutory bodies. And I think it cost us about 30 million.
Yep.
And the fact is that we raised revenue and we were able to give a substantial raise to public service that was less than 40%.
Yep.
And so if we went into the budget year, at least say last year before we gave the raise, if our spent on public service salaries was close to 40%, we gave them a raise and brought that percentage down below 40%. So why am I saying that? I believe that, I'm confident that barring anything that happens in the world economy, we could continue to grow revenues by more than $100 million a term. Someone told me they think we can do 200 million. And so if we could do 100 million revenue growth every term, we can give a huge increase to public servants every 4 years or every 5 years in this term.
So the increase that we have, and we'll move on from this, but the increase that we have, you're saying, could definitely be done, should be revisited at least every term.
This is my belief. My belief is that, and I'm confident that what we should do is we should do a pay and grading review every term and reward public service every term with a substantial increase. And I think we should look at giving them an increase every year for inflation, to top them up for inflation. And then at least once a term, we do a pay and grading review. I know I don't want to put the premier in the position or the deputy governor in a bad position. They may say, oh my goodness, what if we can't afford it? If you can't afford it, then you say we can't afford it during that term.
No, well, you're just saying a review,
but
not
if you increase the revenues by more than 100 million every term, I think you should use at least 30 million of that to help out the public service, which will then attract the best into the public service.
Exactly.
And productivity will automatically increase.
Got you. All right, so let me go to another question here. E-government. This was tailored to be your baby. So the question...
That's why they call me EJ.
Yeah, I guess so, right? So the question is what happened with e-government? Why aren't we as far ahead as we thought we would be? And then also, what have you learned from your involvement in e-government? And how do we get to where we want to be? So it's kind of a three-part question.
If you look at Estonia is best in class for e-government. So they're the picture child. So anyone who talks about e-government, they talk about Estonia. Estonia started in the 1990s working on their e-government initiative. And the world found out about it after 2010. Around about 2012, 2015, the world found out about it. And so they were working on it for well over 15 years. And you know the saying what it says is, it takes many years to be an overnight success. Now, when the world saw it, they thought they didn't know how long they were working on it. And so, and most e-government projects fail. But what happened is that the expectation was that the Turks and Caicos was going to have e-government rolled out completely within one term. Now, let me explain to people what e-government is. E-government is digitizing e-government is digitizing as many government departments as you can. So you think of every government department going digital. The Ministry of Education for schools need a different program than the dental department, which needs a different program from the agricultural department, which needs a different program from the police rackets, which needs a different program from the DMV. So you can't just take a disk and put it into a machine and click install and put it across all of the computers and you have e-government. You actually have to look at every department, figure out the department's needs are, and then design a bespoke system for that specific department. That takes a difficult time. And when the government was moved to the office of the premier, and I was looking at it, I had already covered 40-something different government departments that needed applications. And then you can't just put data online just like that. You can technologically, but you shouldn't because of cybersecurity, because you don't want people stealing your data. You don't want people locking the systems down. So you need to look at the data layer in terms of making sure that you can connect to it, because you don't want to be able to go and ask for government service and it's down. And two, you don't want people stealing government data.
Definitely.
So all of those things that you need to look at that fits on top of the service itself. And so building out all of those services, digitizing all of those services. I'll use one thing as an example. Let's take the lands department. The lands department has hundreds of thousands of land registry records that you need that are in physical format that people are writing down on it. They're putting lines through it, and now you need to take that and digitize it. So you need to physically take them one by one, or whether you do it in a batch or not, and scan those in. And those things could take years to scan all of them in. So what happened? The thing that happens is that we set expectations with the belief that you could deliver it within 3 years, but in practicality, you couldn't deliver it within 3 or 4 years. And I think the other thing about it is that we were naive. I think that I'll be frank and say that the computer unit is under the Ministry of Finance, whose priority is budget delivery and revenue protection of the country, and their priority is not IT. And I think what we should have done is that we should have moved the computer unit into a ministry that was more aligned with their priorities.
Is that how they do it in Estonia? Is it a separate sort of ministry just focused on e-government?
Most countries have a minister of technology whose focus is primarily that. But like I said, we were naive. This is not a fault of anyone. You learn as you go along. We know now that e-government can't or shouldn't be under a ministry who has other priorities. The Ministry of Finance focus should always be revenue protection of the country's revenues. It shouldn't be the delivery of e-government services. So it's not a matter of knocking down, but it's time now that we fully align all of the IT departments under a ministry or a department, on a ministry that's more technologically focused.
Got you. So from your fact-finding mission, because you did go to Estonia, and I guess part of the reason was to kind of get some fact-finding and to get some more data on what we should be doing here. So going into a new administration, well, hopefully a new administration, definitely.
Well, every administration is a new administration.
A new administration. So whether whoever it is.
Side.
But what is because I guess whether who wins or not, I'm guessing what is the blueprint being left in place saying, hey, these are the areas that we need to progress. This is how we should progress. To your point, we might need to have a separate ministry and department just focus on this. Is that all sort of mapped out for anybody moving forward? Is there now a blueprint left in place?
Well, the premier said on this show, when I interviewed him when you were on vacation.
Oh, I was on vacation?
He said that he's trying for an extra ministry, and he would like for that ministry to be a ministry of technology.
Got you.
And that can then be focused directly on the government.
Got you. Yeah. So that leads me into my next question. If you are successful, and if the PNP is successful, which I think it will be, or I hope it is, what ministry would you hopefully, or would you want to be a minister again? I mean, you've been sort of, having both sides. You've seen both sides of the aisle. I know for sure. What ministry would you like to be in? Because you did have the fortune of being a minister of two different ministries. So what ministry would you be most interested in, and what you would think you could make the most impact?
The thing about it is that people asked me that the last time. I'm a team player. I think I think I've shown that. I feel that any ministry you give me, I will fall in love with it and do it my best. When I went to Ministry of Health, I really enjoyed that. The team there, I had fun with the team. When they asked about changing to finance, it wasn't an ask about changing to finance. It was more of a case of saying, you're going to get finance. And I even tried to push it back a couple of months because I enjoyed being with health. And then we went with finance, and by the grace of God, things went very well, and I enjoyed being with finance. I liked the things that we did, particularly with Invest TCI and the things that we were doing with the Department of Trade. And so I enjoyed that. But even coming into the government, I thought that Ministry of Education would have been fun also. So I don't want anyone to feel boxed in and say that that EJ's got to get us this particular ministry. I believe that any ministry that you give me, my job is to make it so exciting that everybody else now want that ministry afterwards.
Got you.
So
that's why Sean wanted Ministry of Health.
I think Sean enjoyed it. I mean, the team the team. I had
That was a
I had
joke,
good
by the
time
way,
with the
yeah.
team, but it's. I would like to think that any ministry you put me in,
Yep.
that I could look at the issues that the ministry have, and try to achieve the objectives for the benefit of the people, and do it in a manner where I'm enjoying getting up in the morning and going to work.
Yep. So from all of that, you said you want to be the Minister of Finance again.
Well, the thing about it is that the minister of finance directs the to a certain extent.
Yep.
The minister, because the thing about it, the minister of finance still has a boss if he's not the boss.
Yep.
And so the boss sets the priority in terms of spending.
That's true.
And but if I had a choice, I mean, I would like to be minister of finance and investment.
So why you didn't
trade.
just say that?
You know, but I'm like, but I guess I can take anything.
No, I know, but you gave me the Kamala Harris answer. I wanted the Trump answer from you just now.
No. I mean, the thing about it is that I know that the boss wants to be minister of finance also.
But he didn't say. I just asked what would you prefer? Where you think your strengths are? Definitely.
I think that the country did very well.
Yep.
In terms of revenue increase while I was minister of finance, and I think you'd be hard pressed
Yep.
to look at the Ministry of Finance and say that I didn't deliver. And so I think that there's some stuff that was left undone. One of the things that I've never spoken about was the medium-term development strategy that
Yep.
sets the strategy direction for the country. That is currently in draft form.
Yep.
And it was supposed to be delivered to cabinet for cabinet to turn it into finalized form. But that sets the strategy, and I would like to be able to finish those things and make sure that we have a medium-term development strategy that ties back to the Vision 2040 document that looks forward to the financial, the FSPS, the Fiscal Strategic Policy Statement, and be delivered on every year. So by 2040, we can look back and say that we fully delivered on the vision of the 2040 document.
Yep.
And the only way you can make sure that gets done is unless you're in the Ministry of Finance.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, I want to pause and see if anybody from the audience has any questions before I take anything online. Oh, man. Talking about Honorable Malcolm, he's right there front row. I think I spoke him into existence. Oh, and the Deputy Premier, my bad. I didn't do a full 360. Oh, and Honorable Stubbs. Yeah,
And Honorable Balliard.
we got a full room here tonight. You know, I mean, this is great stuff. Well, let's get into some more fun stuff here,
Yeah.
Honorable. And like I said, if anybody has any questions, we'll take questions online. We'll take questions from the audience as well. Now, this is a question that has been just offered. I don't know if this is directly for you, but this is one that's been for the party, housing. And I think this actually came up when I interviewed Honorable Robinson as well. Housing.
Yes.
This question is more so on, you know, the Progressive National Party has promised to be the party to put Turks Islanders turnkey into house. And this didn't happen directly, at least not yet in this administration. For you, if you are part of the team, you know, how will you ensure that at the end of another administration that we do have a plan, and we do not only a plan, but Turks Islanders in homes, especially young Turks Islanders that are finding it increasingly hard to buy land because of the pricing of land and how land is going. I think I read in the newspaper again, another record year on real estate being sold. So how would you work with the administration to make sure that this becomes a reality?
There's a few things. I want to point out something before I get into that detail and say that over the world right now, when they say this generation, I mean,
Yep.
I mean the young people.
Yep.
The young people are probably worse off than their parents, and and part of that is home ownership. We
Yep.
have a lot of persons well into their 20s and into their 30s that are either living at home or renting, where a rent is a significant portion of their income, well more than the 40%.
Yep.
You know, maybe over 60%. And when you start to get spending 60% and above on accommodations of your income, it's you're underpaid, or your household income is too low. And we have to work very hard to make sure that we help this generation, the next generation. Otherwise, they're going to continuously to be worse off than their parents. My parents probably owned their first home by the time they were 25. I probably owned mine by the time I was early 30s. And I'm not saying this to say that this is anything exceptional. I think that's what it was in my gym when we were growing. When I was much younger, that most people my age did that. Now you see that the younger generation probably won't own their first home until well into their 30s, and the short-term rental like Airbnb and VRBO did another thing. It took a lot of long-term rental out of the market, so it took a lot of inventory out of the market, and so it makes it very difficult for those persons who to even save, to be able to save towards their first home. Because if you got out of university, first got out of university, and you could rent a place for $800, $1,000, and start to save towards the down payment towards owning your home, now those places are gone, and you have to pay substantial amount again into your income. So it's sapping up all of your savings. So the young people just can't even save to be able to own their first homes. And so my view is that the government should build homes. It's a little bit different from the current policy of the government, but I believe that we need to put shovels in the ground.
Different how, though? Different how? Like, because you say it's different.
We're looking at more at financing, putting in financing mechanisms, affordable financing mechanisms, but I believe that the time it takes to get that ship fully launched is longer than if we just put shovels into the ground. And my belief is that, I don't want to oversimplify it, because then people go, well, what about this, what about that? But my belief is that we, and I said it a few times, each time we gave $1,000 stimulus in the past, it cost us $15 million. Today it will probably cost us more than $15 million. And if I had all of the say, if I could just do exactly what I wanted to do in terms of around home, what I would do is I would pick a figure and say, what are we going to target? So let's say that figure is $1,500 a month. We look at what can people afford to pay in terms of mortgage. So let's say that figure is $1,500. And then I would go to the banks and I would say, on a 25 to 30 year mortgage, on a payment of $1,500 a month, how much can that get you? And they and I think I did it. We did it with RBC, and they came back and said that it was around about $210,000. And so then what I would then go is say, you know what can we build as a government for $250,000? And I'll try to target 2 bedrooms, 2 bath. And the same money we were giving away for stimulus, I would give it away in terms of subsidizing those homes. So it immediately gives them equity into their homes. It makes it easier for the bank to finance it. And I would keep building until people don't need homes anymore. And then you put the restrictions on it that says, if you sell it, you have to sell it to another Turks and Caicos Islander, or you have to pay $250, pay the government back the full amount. And like I said, so you can't just transfer the benefits to non-Turks and Caicos Islanders. But I would do that and start to get people into homes. Now, that's my view, and I'm certain if we get around the table, some people will say, well, you didn't think about this and you didn't think about that. That's my simplistic view, but I think that we should get shovels into the ground.
Wow. I think you just solved all of the housing crisis right there in one little interview there. Whoa. So with that being said, what would be the target number of persons? Like, say, for example, or even the target number of homes. What do you think the government should commit to say, hey, this next term we should have throughout the Turks and Caicos, we need to at least have, what number would that be for you, at least in your mind and how you're thinking about it?
Again, I don't want to say something and then tie the premier to it. But if every year we end the year with more than $50 million worth of surplus, every single year, and we're taking in revenue that's faster than our ambitions. Our ability to deliver, I should say that. We're taking in revenue faster. Maybe as fast as our ambitions, but faster than our ability to deliver. And every year we end the year with $50 million plus surplus. So we can do something with that. We know that we're going to end the year with $50+ million. We know that. I'm not in cabinet right now. No one has had this conversation with me, and I can guarantee you we are on track to end the year, financial year, with more than $50 million in surplus. No one has to tell me about it. I would, as a betting man, I would say that we're currently on track to end the year with about $50 million in surplus. And if you do that we've done it 3 years already. And I believe we're gonna do it a 4th year.
Yep.
And so, if we know that we're going to do it, we know that we could peel off $15 million.
Yep.
towards giving it to PPID and saying, see if you can build some homes.
Yep.
Now, if it's not 50 million, I'm certain it's more than 15 million. And I would give it to PPID and let them loose.
Yep.
Say, build homes. And my back of the envelope calculations I believe that by the time you run out, because you're subsidizing a portion, and you're getting some money back, but you're not getting 100% of it back, so eventually we'll run out. I think you can do about 125 to 150 homes
Per year.
per year.
Gotcha.
Now, in the first instance, you may need more than that, but I think at the minimum, we should be peeling off $15 million, passing it to Honorable Robinson and saying, go off and build homes and,
Yep.
and set him free to do that.
So in one term, you're looking like, what, 750 homes? That's not a bad commitment.
Well, I mean, PPID has the numbers. I don't really have the numbers, but I saw and I'd heard different numbers. But I think the round number I've been hearing is that the country needs about 600 net homes
Yep.
every year for the next decade. So the next 10 years, we need to award the contractors, because I know people say, well, how are you going to deal with the contractors? If you need to set up a housing corporation and give them the money and let them work at the contractors, those are just simple logistics.
Yep.
Legislative logistics. You could work it out. You can work out the process with the procurement department, but work it out and start building homes.
Gotcha.
Get the young people into homes.
Definitely. Let me give you another question here. One was about your history. You're the son of a former chief minister. And I guess this person kind of wanted to know, do you feel any pressure being the former son of a chief minister, meaning that you have to live up to sort of that political heights? Now, your mom is in the building, so you answer lightly, but, is there any pressure in being the former son of a chief minister? What does that put on you?
Well, if there's anyone who puts pressure on me, it'd be my mom. Than my dad,
mom gives you the pressure.
Yeah, but I would say no. I mean, I don't want to let my family down.
Yep.
I don't want to go there and they go and say it was a failure. But my dad was a good politician, and
Yep.
I don't want to say that I'm just going to use Michael Jordan as an example because he was a good basketball player. But you could pick anyone, LeBron James, you could pick whatever.
Yep. Or
And
Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. So I don't think my job is to go in there and be a second Michael Jordan, be a second Norman Saunders. I think
Yep.
my job is to be a good me.
Yep.
And I keep telling people that someone wrote when I came out of the ministry, someone wrote an article they didn't write the article, it was talk back in the Sun.
Yep.
And and someone said that E.J. Saunders is not. He's no Norman Saunders. And they said it like it was some type of insult. Like they were seeking to try to insult me by saying I'm not my dad. And I had to answer and say, of course I'm not my dad. I'm
Yep.
a bit of my mom.
Yep.
I'm a Saunders and I'm a bit of Malcolm also.
Yep.
And then there's a couple of things in between that. There's Woods and there's Libans and all of those different things. And so I don't want to say it in the bad way. I want to learn from my dad.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not trying to be my dad. And he's been in politics for 40 years. I haven't even been in politics for 40 months yet.
Yep.
And so I think it's a little bit unfair for people to come and say you're not him after that amount of time.
Yep.
But I'm not trying to be him. I don't think I'd even be able to get to him. But I believe that getting back to basketball again, you can be a good basketball player without having to be Michael Jordan.
Yep.
As long as I'm contributing, as long as I'm giving more back to the team than I'm taking away, and as long as I'm giving more to the country than I'm taking away, I would be satisfied and happy. And I think knowing my dad, he would be satisfied and happy.
Definitely. But let me ask another question on that. We got a lot of young people in the room tonight too, so probably some aspiring politicians. So give me one secret your dad told, because I don't think Honorable Saunders ever lost an election, even when he ran independent, right? If I'm correct. So he's like 100%, and I think that's like a rarity in elections, right? So what's one of the things that he has taught you about being successful in politics?
I think one of the things that my dad was good at is, in terms of politics, is that he had a clarity of focus. He knew what he wanted.
Yep.
He knew exactly what he wanted. He was deliberate when he wanted it. He was focused. He's very, very focused when he wants something. he's naturally charismatic, but I don't think he go up there and wake up every morning and say, I need to be charismatic. I think it's his personality. But I think his clarity of focus. He knows what he wants. But I think, and let me put that in context of me, is that I'm the son of a politician, and so the rules applied to me are different than the rules that apply to him. And so if I walk into a room and if I'm as deliberate as he is, the first thing people go and say, oh, you only want this because you all think that you all should have everything. And so because of that, I have to be a little bit more tentative, because I know that the expectation is that people think that I want to create some type of dynasty.
Yep.
And so because of that, I am more tentative than he could be, that he's allowed to be. And so I would say the thing that drives him and allow him to be successful, I can't use those things.
Yep.
Because I am the son of a politician and he's the son of a school teacher. And I think society would have been easier on him than it would be on the next generation, just because how they perceive, so they would want him to do very well because they look at his backstory and they said, from where you came, we would certainly want to see you there. But for me, coming from that, they think, okay, you're coming from wealth. They use terms like having silver spoons in your mouth. And so the requirement and the standards for me are a little bit different. But I'm okay with that. The thing for him would be his clarity and his focus. But unfortunately, I'm not allowed to be that laser focused. Otherwise, it gives off a different perception than when he's that focused.
Yeah. So would you, and I guess last question on this area, but would you consider this election?
The
How do I
premier's
want to
here
put
now.
this? Oh, sorry, the premier's here. Yeah.
He heard we were setting policy.
There we are.
He heard we were
back.
setting policy.
Yeah, I got the premier right behind me, so I got to tread lightly how I asked this question. Okay, anyway, I'll ask it anyway. No, it's not even that serious of a question, but it was on the lines of you saying, you treading lightly, coming into the footsteps of your dad being the chief minister and a former politician. Do you think a second term would be more of a vindication and more of a foundation of your own than that you would now be creating that full lane of your own? Do you look at it that way?
I don't even think about it, to be honest. When we were running last election, I said I wanted to run at large. Part of the reason was that I thought I could win at large. I thought it was the best strategic thing for us. But I thought that, but I never tried to lean on my dad, and I've never looked at it in terms of needing validation.
Yep.
To show that I'm different. I'm a different man from my dad. I am a different man from my dad, and so I'm not in competition with him. I love him very much, but I don't think he would want me to thinking that I need somehow validation to show that I'm not him. I would be very lucky. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's done phenomenal things. I'd be very lucky if I could replicate his success.
Yep.
But if I fall short, I'm not thinking that somehow I failed. I remember when I was going to school and my dad thought about accounting and law and everything. I did computer science. He played tennis. I played football. So I never tried to, yes, in American football, that is. And
Tough guy.
well, I played with a little bit more finesse.
Yep.
But I've always tried to be my own person.
Yep.
But I know the standards that he set, and I want to achieve those standards. But I don't want to be a carbon copy of my dad. I wouldn't try to put that type of pressure on myself. And so a second term wouldn't validate it. Now if I did 12 terms and he was still alive, I would tell him I beat his record. But I'm not aiming for that. I don't think I'll be able to
Wait,
achieve
what's
it.
his record?
He ran 11 times.
Wow, and won 11 out of 11 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I don't think that record's ever going to be beaten, honestly.
and I'm here sweating for two. But the thing, our household is very competitive.
Yep.
Like I said, I don't measure myself by my dad. But if I was able to get 12,
Yep.
and he was still alive, let's just say we were, could live forever, I would send him a WhatsApp message and say, Dad, I just beat your record.
Yeah.
I would do that, but I don't think I'd ever get there.
And then he might come back and just to run one more term. Definitely. To beat you, yeah. So talking about that, I mean, another term, we're in a constituency that's going to be a very highly contested constituency. We're in ED8, you know.
Yes.
We're in ED8. Can I get some ED8 support here? There we go. ED8. And, you know, ED8 is one of those, I want to call it a swing constituency in the sense that it's going to be competitive. It's always been competitive. It always kind of, you know, you mentioned tennis. It always has a tennis factor to it. It kind of went back to our side last election. What do you think specifically in this constituency from what, you know, your interaction with people, being an all-island candidate representing, you know, all facets of the country? What do you think ED8, speak to ED8 specifically, speak to what's, you know, what's happening here, what has happened here from the granular sense of things, from the general government sense to specifics, if you would like, and just maybe say something to the constituency and also what the representative here represents as well, and what, you know, future things should be coming here as well.
I think you wanted me to say that why should they vote PNP back in again? Why
Well, you could say that too.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing about it is this. We spent a significant amount of time seeking to make the Turks and Caicos better.
Mm-hmm.
And the downside to that is that some local projects we probably didn't get to.
Mm-hmm.
And so the premier likes to say that all politics is local, you know, meaning that everybody looks at it and says, what happened with us? And I think that David May would want to look at ED8 and say, well, we wanted more. And everybody wanted more. Even South Caicos said that they wanted more. But I think if you look at the progress that we've made generally and nationally across the Turks and Caicos, I think we've done a lot of good things. And ED8 voters and residents benefited from that. They'll continue to benefit from that, particularly persons who benefited from the babysitting services, the social services. Those persons who just turned 70. Those persons, the MSME grants recipient. Those persons who bought land. As one of the things I like to say is that before the Crown land policies came into effect, we made buying private land almost as cheap as buying Crown land.
Yep.
Because we reduced the duty exemptions and everything. So a lot of those persons benefited from that. So we created, if not homeowners, we certainly created landowners in ED8. So I would encourage them to continue, because as we chip away, and I talked to you about it before, the premier is here now in the audience, that we keep ending the year with large surpluses, and part of that is the fact is that capital projects are going undelivered at the end of the year. Every year, included in those capital projects are projects for ED8 that we just have difficulties getting across the line. I think we're getting better at that now. So it wasn't a case of not delivering because of we didn't desire to deliver it.
Yep.
A bunch of capital projects go undelivered at the end of the year. And that's why I talked about high performance government early on. I think we're better at it now. And I think our ability to deliver a higher percentage of our capital budget improves every year. And I think we will start to deliver more. But why should they vote us in? I know someone's going to come back and say to me, "Oh, you probably shouldn't said it this way," but I'm going to make the point anyway. In football, one of the terms they're saying is that winning ugly. That if you're in the playoffs, there are days you're not going to get pretty wins. You just have to grind it out. And but at the end of the day, at the end of it, you want to make sure that you're still making forward progress.
Yep.
And I think we're the political party. I know that we're the political party that even when things aren't doing well, we could win ugly, meaning that we could still deliver. It
Yep.
may mean a grind out. It may not be pretty. It may not be through the air. And it may not be with a lot of finesse. But we will grind it out. We will eventually get there. And I think we're out of the two parties that are putting themselves forward, we could deliver more. Even if it's in a fashion where it's not pretty, we could deliver more than the other side. So if you want to keep seeing forward progress, we're definitely the party to keep putting it. So, you know, I don't want to make it a cliche, but the only way I can sum it up is don't rock the boat. Keep it where you got it.
Oh, definitely. And I want you to add some comments on the candidate here, because you know him a little bit better than a lot of people in this room know him, and especially I know you spoke about Honorable Howell and some of the things that he does that goes unknown. So just speak a little bit about that too, and about you mentioned winning ugly, and sometimes it's not that he's an ugly person or anything, but I mean it's not that that all the time everything is broadcast, right? And sometimes some candidates may have a better way of broadcasting things. But just speak to who Honorable Howell is for the people in the room of ED8 and the Turks and Caicos at large, and what you've gotten to know about him, and some of the work and things that he's been doing in the constituency, and just adding to the team as a whole.
I'm going to say something. Thank you. What I'm going to say is that it's two different skill sets that's required between campaigning
Yep.
and administrating. And this is something I've been saying for years. This is not something I just started saying. Completely different skill sets. And what I mean that is that you can have a great campaigner, the most charismatic person in the world, but deliver nothing when they're in government.
Yep.
And then you can have someone who delivers a lot in government and not be the most charismatic person, not out there shaking hands. But the truth of the matter is that once the election is over, you need a candidate who is laser focused, who rolls their sleeves up and push and start to deliver, get into the details.
Yep.
We're not an advanced country, particularly the public service, where ministers could just sit back and say, let the government run, and you just show up and cut ribbons. You need to roll your sleeves up. You need to get into the detail. And it's not, I'm certain every minister has edited a few cabinet papers.
Yep.
And so even as a backbencher, you need to get into the details, because you need to be feeding and fighting sometimes with the priorities that ministers have there. You have to be able to go to PPID and say, I don't care if you feel that this road is priority, my road is priority. And you have to keep pushing.
Yep.
And Honorable Howell is that. I think a lot of people mix up and go and says, well, this person isn't out there doing this and this person isn't out there doing that. But he works hard while he's in there, and he pushes hard, and he loves his community. He continues to, every time we have a House of Assembly meeting, he wants he participates. He wants to know what's going on. Every budget, when I was there, he was like, what's in the budget for ED8? You can see that it pains him when ED8 doesn't get anything, and it isn't just, okay, well, ED8, it doesn't get it, and I'm here. I don't mind. You can see it hurts him. And it doesn't just hurt him in an election year. It hurts him even throughout if he doesn't get it, and he works very hard for them. And I think that's the most important thing. The most important thing is that, A, do you care for your people? He cares for them. And can you deliver? And he can deliver. And I said to you before, and this is no knock against anyone, I think that if there's a lack of performance, and I think we've delivered, but I do believe that if we delivered 5 things, we could have delivered 10, and if we delivered 50, we could have delivered 75. And it's not a knock against the government, it's more a knock against the system. The system is designed around austerity measures. The system that we're operating under now is the system that was put in place in 2012 when the country had a $200 million debt. And so it makes it very difficult for us to deliver some things. I think that's what some constituencies suffered from, that we weren't able to deliver everything that we want. But Honorable, it's not because of a lack of trying by Honorable Howell. And like I said before, we're getting better and better at it. And I think Blue Hills will return him. They will see that. And I'm going to tell you, let me be frank and say why Blue Hills should return him. I'm going to call it what it is. We will win the next government.
Say it again.
We will win the next government.
Say it like you mean it. Oh, yeah. It is.
And it's better to have your person on the inside than on the outside.
Yep.
And so, just from that point of view, if you're a Blue Hills and you're thinking about who's going to deliver you the best, you don't want your person throwing rocks from the opposition side.
Yep.
Because they really can't deliver anything for you. Mm-hmm. So if you know this is a foregone conclusion, it's in your best interest to put your candidate on the winning side, because that candidate has more say into the budget. So I'm telling them that we know that they're PNPs in ED8. We know that they're going to vote for. We know that they're going to vote for Honorable Howell. But I'm going to say to the PDMs and the swing voters, if you really care about Blue Hills, put your guy on the winning side. Don't put your candidate on the opposition side. And I can certainly say, if you just see by the momentum that we have right across the country, the Progressive National Party will win the next election.
Great. Nice. Well, that's well said. Well put. I'm going to pause again. Any questions from the audience before? I think we got a shy audience today, you know. Oh, we have a question from the audience. Yeah, please
Somebody
do.
from 88.
We have some. This is somebody from 88, actually. So there we go.
You spoke about the housing issue. You addressed it. Housing, in my view, is in this country is a crisis. I heard you address what you would do to solve the housing problem, but we have two levels of homeowners, persons that desires of a home. Not everybody will be able to purchase a home. You're going to have those persons on the lower scale who desperately need a home, but they can't afford a home. How do we address that? Do we provide some sort of housing, government housing for those sets of citizens? Because I know there are some. I've been dealing with some housing issues in the community recently, and we discovered that not everybody will be able to afford a home. So how would you address finding housing, adequate housing for those persons?
I'm glad you brought it up because it reminded me of something that I wanted to touch on and I didn't touch on it too, is that you also have persons who they just need to rent, and we just have to make sure that rent's affordable also. So when I talked about housing before, we also have to look at the cost of living around persons, making sure that there's enough inventory in the rental market for long-term rental market, affordable inventory also. So that means we may have to look at the amount of short-term rentals we have in the market, and maybe putting a cap or something on that. But to answer your question, I have to see these things. I like to look at first to say what is the number in terms of persons who are in that position. See if it's endemic. For instance, you may have 2 or 3 persons in that, and we may be able to come up with an easy solution. But if we have 500 persons in that position, we'd have to come up with a completely different solution. I haven't looked into it right now, but I believe that there must be some type of scheme around the world called social housing. Like I said, I've never looked into it, but I can see where you will not have social housing, some type of housing where you would let particularly senior citizens or persons with special needs or disabled people, where you put them in some type of social housing where the government owns the asset, but they're allowed to live there. And so if it was me, I would look into something like that, where you put a shelter over someone's head and that they genuinely can't afford it, to provide them some type of either social assistance or social housing where the government owns the asset, but they are allowed to live there for a very, very nominal fee. And then when they pass on, you reclaim it and do something else with it. But like I said, for me, I would want to look at the number first, because if it's one person, then it's not the end of the world if the government says, you know what, we're just going to underwrite the cost and build them a $150,000 home. But if it's 1,000 people in that position, you can't do that. You'd have to move to some type of social housing assistance. So I would want to see the number of persons who are in that position and then come up. But I do believe that there's a solution to it, either between a one-off solution or some type of social assisted housing program.
Great question. Anybody else from the audience? Oh, we have another question from the audience. Yes.
Question in regards of Fortis. I spent my whole life growing up with wheels, and majority of the fatal accidents and stuff that happen, especially on the Millennium Highway, is due to the lighting conditions. Can the government look into that to speak before this, even if they put an extra $10 on the bill? The back road is extremely dangerous. Even after this meeting, when you come out, you'll see for yourself. Especially over this area.
The premier is in the room, and I could be corrected if I'm wrong, but I don't think lighting is actually Fortis. I think lighting is in the government, and we work with them to get lighting. And so what I mean is that it's not Fortis. I don't think it's Fortis goes out there and says, we're going to put lights certain places. I think the government works with Fortis to do it. So, and how I say, the premier's in the room, I'm certain the government can look into that and see areas that need lighting and then facilitate the process of doing it. But I don't think Fortis goes out there and say, well, we're going to put lights across these roads on their own. I think it's the government that says we want a section of road with lights on them, and they somehow charge government for it, or we provide the funding to put the lighting in. So it's something that they do on government's behalf, and so it would be government to require it to go to them. So, but I'm saying you've got all of the heavy hitters in the room right now who certainly heard you that the areas that you need lighting. But I'll say this: the premier's in the room, and I've heard him. And on one time, I kind of laughed. The premier wanted $50 million in roads and electrification. That's roads and lighting. And it's only because of, and I said it before a few times, it's only because of the inability to deliver on the capital projects that match our ambition, where that number kept on cutting down, and we weren't able to deliver it. But it was left to him. We would have $50 million spent, the same $50 million surplus that I probably would have saved. He would have wanted to spend it on roads and electrification, and you would have had Provo lit up like a light bulb. But I think we want to get there. I don't know if that ambition has changed. You still have that ambition, hasn't changed. He said it's still there. And but the goal was to, I heard him say it a few times, was to put $50 million into roads, new roads, and electrification. And that would mean pave as many roads as possible, particularly with highway and lights all across Provo.
Great question. Any other questions? Oh, we have one, two. Yep.
Just a quick question in regards to housing. Wouldn't it be wise for us to say put a cap or put some price control in place for the exorbitant rental prices that persons pay in certain areas? Have it at a minimum what they can rent so that it can ease the burden on persons of it?
You can do it, but I do believe that the better answer is that the fact is that we have to look at the short-term rental market. When I came back from Canada, it was a buyer's market, which means that there was so much inventory out there in terms of rental income. The renter could almost dictate what they wanted to spend. And I tell people this: I remember renting a 4,000 square foot place for $1,100. And within about 2 years, the owner came back and said, it started switching from a renter's market from a buyer's market to a seller's market, and he put us out, and he was able to get much more money for it. So he immediately went from $1,100 to $2,500, and now today that same thing would be maybe $10,000.
Wow.
And I think the reason why rent is so high is that everyone who's got, because here's what would happen: most people would build a home, and they'll build a small little room, something in their yard, and they would rent it off to help them with their mortgage. And even if they were getting $1,000 or more a month for it, that was going towards their mortgage. Today, people are saying, wait a minute, I don't have to rent my place long term. I can put it for Airbnb, and I can get $2,000 a month for that same place. And if anybody trashed my place, Airbnb will cover the cost. So it makes far more sense for me to put into Airbnb. It sounds sexy and everything like that. And so now the persons, maybe like yourself, who want to rent can't find those places. And so I think that we have to look at a similar thing what the world is doing, is basically looking at how many short-term rental units we allow in the market, because we just can't allow short-term rental platforms to soak up all of the inventory. So my view of approaching it would be to look at legislation around short-term rentals, the VRBOs and the Airbnbs, and see if there's anything that we can do there to be able to allow the long-term rental market to have more inventory. And then it goes with supply and demand. More supply will drive down the cost of the units themselves. And I would rather look there first before we start to look at price controls and telling people what they should charge.
I hope that would be affecting us. I hope that would be the expats who would be putting that capital on.
No, we wouldn't certainly. I mean, I'm aware of it, and I know that one of the downsides to it is that a lot of persons now are supplementing their income through Airbnb. Yeah, and so I don't want to go and take that revenue out of the person's pockets, but so we have to find a balance. But you don't have to worry. We're not going to go. What we're going to do is empower Turks and Caicos Islanders. We're not going to disempower Turks and Caicos Islanders. We're going to empower them and make sure that we can all live our best lives.
And I think, Honorable, if I may mention, because this was on our show last week, when the Deputy Premier spoke, that there is a program in place that does incentivize Turks and Caicos contractors who are billing long-term rentals, from what I understand, to get concessions, and those concessions and savings will be passed on directly to the consumer or to the renter. So I think that there are programs that the government does have in place that the Deputy Premier spoke to directly that does sort of start making an address to that. But to your point again, of course, inventory in the market is what's needed, but that would hopefully increase inventory if people are building specifically for the purpose of joining in partnership with the government to put long-term rentals on the market and using those savings to pass on directly to the consumer.
I mean, the issue comes down to supply and demand, and there's a lot of inventory that are not into short-term rental and not long-term rental. And like I said, we have to find a way where we balance it out, where Turks and Caicos Islanders can still participate in the new economy, but also where the next generation are able to afford accommodations, because otherwise what you would have is that the economy would be very skewed. You'd have those persons with the Airbnb and short-term rentals making money hand over fist, but then your children, your grandchildren can't afford anything because the cost of living is too high for them. And so we do need to find the right balance where your generation, particularly those who reaching retirement age and have built up assets, and the assets in terms of accommodation assets, and they want to put them out to rent, particularly to supplement their retirement income, because a lot of times we don't have pension plans and everything here for people to rely on, so you need that bit of income. So we need to certainly strengthen that where those persons can be able to get the income coming in, but we also have to look at the other side of it for the next generation, that we don't price them out of the market where they can't find anything. So that's the way the balance that I'm talking about.
Definitely. I think we had another question from the audience. One more.
Right.
I was home actually listening to you, and you basically were saying, if you really want to get something done, you will keep it together, right?
Yes.
So my question is, right, so in a nutshell, you said if honorable Brent is not successful, well, forget about the wills.
I actually didn't. I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
No, I didn't say
Oh,
so.
okay.
But you said if you want things to keep on riding smoothly, keep it where you got it.
Yes.
I didn't try to misquote you.
Yes.
My question is, say he's not successful, are the PMP going to forget Blue Hills?
The thing about it is that the PNP is a unique part in the sense that one thing we get beaten up for is PNPs saying that we're not looking out for PNPs, we're looking out for the other side more than PNPs. And I think that basically says is that we don't see color after elections. We just don't see colors. And I say that's the thing that we get beat, because PNPs go, oh my goodness, you rewarded someone with a contract, or you rewarded them with a job, and they didn't vote for you. And they come to you like it's a surprise. You go, oh my goodness, take that job contract back, because we didn't realize that person didn't vote for us. And the reason why we do it is that we don't see color. We try to reward people on merit, on their ability. And so we believe that, and we are confident that Blue Hills has a place in the Turks and Caicos, has a bright future. And it's very hard for me to wrap my mind around not voting for Honorable Howell. But I will say that regardless, Blue Hills, we have a plan for Blue Hills. We're going to execute that plan for Blue Hills. And I'm confident that Blue Hills is going to go from strength to strength. Win, lose, or draw, yes. Yes, yeah, we won't. But I don't want to give you an excuse to not do what I said earlier, but making sure your guy is on the winning side, because the benefit from that is that you have local knowledge. Because you take me, I'm from South Caicos, and I may come there and go and say, you know what Blue Hills needs? Blue Hills needs X, Y, and Z. But someone using I think Honorable Howell term, a Blue Hillian, may say, no, that's not what we want. We want this. And that requires local knowledge. He was like to say, you know what it was like for students having to walk through this footpath all their lives? We need a road through that. That requires local knowledge. And that local knowledge is best to be on the government side. So when we're sitting in our meetings, they can push versus someone again throwing rocks from over the other side. So no, we're not going to leave Blue Hills out, but I'm encouraging you. It's much better to have your candidate on the winning side.
So, my final question, right?
Yes.
For the last 4 years, what did the Progressive National Party did for the constituency of Blue Hills? Continuation of the sidewalk. What did
As I said before, you know, as I said, I don't know if you said you were, maybe you were on your way here, is that even when I was a minister in there, I know that we adjusted the stamp duties on land. And people bought land. Turks and Caicos Islanders bought land in Blue Hills. So Blue Hills people certainly benefited from that.
Turks and Caicos Islanders, all of Blue Hills bought land?
No, people in Blue Hills bought land. People in Blue Hills bought land. I mean, I would have signed off on it.
Infrastructure-wise?
I would think that, Honorable Howell is here. He has a town hall meeting. He could speak more specifically to the infrastructure that we did. But as I said before, every year we had we budgeted at the beginning of the year a number of things for all constituencies. Every year we budgeted for Blue Hills, and every year we ended the year with more than $50 million in surplus because a lot of projects didn't get delivered, but not because of the government, it's because of the system that we operate in. And so we haven't been able to deliver as fast as we want, but we're delivering faster than any other government. And then one of the things we're doing is replacing those restrictions. Like earlier this year, we signed a brand new public financial management framework. It was the first time a new one was signed in a decade, more than 10 years. We signed that loosened the things that the caps that we could spend. So there were certain caps that we were allowed to spend. There was some number like $1,500 before you had to go out to like 3 quotes and everything. We raised those caps. So we loosen up the things that tied us down. So as I was saying before, we're getting better at it. We are figuring out where the bottlenecks are. We're removing those bottlenecks. We've done things with Crown Land. Now, Crown Land, when we first came in, was under the AG. Now, Crown Land is going into a new body that's going to be co-chaired by the Premier and the Governor. So all these different things that we're doing differently, that we're easing it up, where we're able to deliver for the people further and faster. And that's what I talked about. We need to implement a high-performance culture into the public service, which I'm confident that we're going to do, and we're going to become a high-performance government where we start to deliver in the second term better than we delivered in the first term, just because we're bad at it now. We're not rookies anymore. And that's why we're now starting to click on all cylinders at our first term. So in our next term, we're going to be clicking on all all cylinders from day one. And so that's one of the reasons why, I'm going to go back to it, where you need to keep it where you got it.
Well, I think we have room for about 2 more questions, and I think we have a few from the audience. I just want to say so far, I do appreciate the questions that everybody's asking. I mean, these are some really great questions. So I think we have about 2 more questions that we could take.
One of the things that we constantly hear all the time from the young people and from other folks, well, the politicians don't care about us. They only care about themselves and their families and their friends. They're only looking to empower themselves and their family and their friends. What do you do, or what can you say to dispel that and try to get the public to go out and vote and to see things differently?
We had this young person question the other night at Honorable Knowles' town hall meeting. There's a few things, and I know you didn't speak specific to the young people wanting to remove, but there's a few things that get young people excited. Young people are young; they want to do young things. You know, they want more stimulants. They want a greater nightlife. They want things to do. They want to be able to go to plays. They want to go to games. They want to watch basketball games, sporting games. They want to go to concerts. You know, when Beyonce and Jay-Z, they want to just be able to go out. Sometimes they want a bit of junk food, so they want to be able to have a fast food restaurant. You know, all those sorts of things. And we don't have it here. And the other thing they want is that when they want to interact with government, they want government to move faster. So they want 24/7 government. Because also when I'm in North America, when I'm in Europe, I apply for something, I get it right away. And why do we have to wait here for it? These sorts of things they want, because I have kids that are employed. They want the employment to work a certain way. They want their bosses to do things a certain way. And so we need, where we can, we need to make it easier for them. And I think we did that when we raised the pay for government. So we basically said you can come into government and you could find innovative things to do with government. I talked about it the other night, and it quite excites me that all of us in this room, outside of maybe the premier, if we were in North America, we would be a small fish in a big pond. You would not really find a 52-year-old as the deputy premier of the Turks and Caicos. And I don't know what Honorable Robinson is. He's probably 35 or something. You wouldn't very rarely find that. Okay, so what I'm saying is that all of a sudden in the Turks and Caicos Islands, you can get pretty far, pretty young. And so I keep encouraging people that you can be here and working on some very innovative things. My son, he works for Experienced Turks and Caicos. And he may be frustrated, but he's probably at best 4 degrees of separation from the minister. He's 28. How many 28-year-olds in North America would be 4 degrees of separation from the minister, who's seeing their minister practically on a daily basis? These are exciting things, very exciting things, that if you're a young person, you can seize the moment. And so I encourage them from that point of view. But I do know that we need to make government and government services more nimble for them. They aren't used to waiting for a driver's license for 3 months. And so we have to make it easier for them and do those things where they can interact at their speed and interact using the tools that they're used to. They're not used to standing in line. They don't know about standing in line, where they grew up. They want to be able to interact with government through an app. So we need to do those things. And then with government and the younger generation, we need to work together to build the Turks and Caicos, to build those things that stimulate them. We put in new businesses. Our nightlife isn't exactly there yet, but we need to create it. But there are other things that we need to do in addition to that. You know what I mean? We talked about a Christian culture today. Some people like gospel concerts. Don't leave that out. Have more of those. Some people like other concerts. Have some more of those things to do. Invite game teams to come down here and maybe play a semi-professional basketball game or two. Let's, businesses coming down and bring in people who want to do plays in the Turks and Caicos. A couple of times people brought in, had boxing matches here. And so try to do a little bit more of those things and start to give the young people something to do. They want to go out. They don't want to be at home all the time. But I think we will get there. We're a young country. Our history, some people will disagree with us, but our history goes back probably 200 years. And we only started clicking on all cylinders maybe around about 1950, 1960. And so we're not, we were a relatively poor country 100 years ago. So I think you give it time, we all work together, us and the younger generation, to be able to build the Turks and Caicos, but we're getting there. I mean, I think our growth, if we look at our growth trajectory since 1980 to now, so over the last 40 years, it's probably, I'm looking at the premier, but I'm starting the premier of the grid. If you look at our growth trajectory, I would believe that there's only probably 4 or 5 other places in the world, Dubai and maybe Singapore, a few of those that are higher than the Turks and Caicos. But I would bet that Turks and Caicos is in the top 10 in terms of our growth trajectory. And if we grew that much in the last 40 years, imagine what we'll do over the next 40 years. So just, I would say, be a little bit patient, and we're certainly getting there. I want to end by saying this. I remember when I was going to school in Canada, people would laugh at you when you said you were from the Turks and Caicos. Bahamas students would laugh at you when you were from the Turks and Caicos because it was better in the Bahamas. Today, it's best in the Turks and Caicos. Everybody wants to be in the Turks and Caicos.
Well, I think our time is just about done. The production team is given, but if that comment could be literally in give me 30 seconds so I can let Honorable Saunders end. There is a meet-in right after this, so just 25 seconds if we can.
Okay, answer that. We know that the ministers and we know that the politicians can't be everywhere at all times. But I think if you try to reach out to people who you can put in those areas, who can go on your behalf to the people to see ways in which you can help them and help them get to where they want to go. But you can't be
Thank you. Yep.
I think you wanted to say something quickly? Yes.
My problem is, this Tyson is now very difficult to make company. Like, I make company for you, when I make company all the way around. Like, any door I enter now, somebody tell me, how can you come to see before? I explain my company. Because my minister, all the ministers, exactly, not one, not trying to reach and the poor who go to our sometimes you pass the people. How you doing? What talk to people. When you don't do it like that, it's difficult to me to exact. Because I start from here. Credit though, I now. You see, you don't want to. You see, listen, you know, I'm with you. Anytime you want to do something, call me. When you call me, what I can do, I want to know exactly what your door I can knock.
Okay.
Wait, there's one more thing. Problem again. Stop saying you can't walk anywhere. I don't know why. Stop saying you can't walk. Any place you reach, all the Philippines there, Missy there, huh? You push your shot out. You went for it. Tell me what's going on.
What I was going to say is that we have the town hall meeting. That certainly will bring that up in the town hall meeting. And we can pick that up right there. So that's what I was saying is that, and then we can address in the town hall meeting afterwards.
Yep.
It's the same room and it's the same people. You don't have to leave. So I think that's why you brought the questions from the town hall meeting into this show.
But I guess just to end it, Honorable, and we'll just end it here. I promise we'll end it here because we have to get into the town hall that's scheduled after this. I guess the overall question that he was answering, just so the audience that's online isn't kind of confused as to what's going on. I think the general question is about labor and making sure that Turks Islanders will have jobs available for them. I guess that the labor market has become a little more saturated, and I guess he wants to know more on the solutions on that. So just give me 30 seconds on that.
I'll say the 30-second answer is that we have in place a moratorium on foreign contractors. And so my view is that now only Turks and Caicos Island own companies can be contractors. And so we could easily speak with them about how their hiring practices around, because it's an easy group for us to speak to because it's Turks and Caicos Islanders. And then try to incentivize them or encourage them to hire more Turks and Caicos Islanders. But that would be the quick answer. We've already locked it down to say only Turks and Caicos Islanders could be in this space, in the contractor space. And we had a moratorium. I believe that is going to become permanent and that we're not going to allow any more foreign contractors. And those contractors being local will hire local.
Thank you so much. And Honorable, like I do on every show, I just want to first thank all of our live audience for being here, some that are here for the meeting after as well, but also came here to see you and to get their questions answered. I want to thank the online audience as well for tuning in and for the great questions that we've been getting as well. And I just want to give you literally 15 seconds closing statements just to the people of the Turks and Caicos as you close out.
Well, if you're going to give me 15 seconds, I'm going to have to look into the camera and say, we want to do better than the last term. I'm confident that that's the team. We're the team. We care for people. We've delivered. I do believe that we could deliver farther, faster next term. But I'm uncomfortable that we lost one seat and we're going to have 19 in the next election. I want all 19. So I'm going to say a few things. One, vote PNP straight down the line. And two, don't rock the boat. Keep it where you got it.
Thank you very much. Yeah. No, thank you so much. And I'm just going to close out the show. And I just want to say, probably now there are going to be 2 shows with live audiences because the other show watches what we do and then they start doing what we do. So I'm pretty sure next Monday you'll have a live audience show as well, too. Nonetheless, and then they got to change the time. No, but just want to say thank you to Turks and Caicos again for tuning in every Tuesday evening, 6 o'clock. We're here. We're going to be here next Tuesday again, live audience again. We'll have Honorable Josephine Connolly on next week. So like Honorable Saunders says, don't rock the boat. Keep it where you got it. Come back here Tuesday, 6 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in as always.
There was this lady, she don't know what to do. Come on, let me show you. I said, come on, baby, for BNB down the line, for BNB down the line, for BNB.